We have people that like, I
are
don't know,
wanting
are
to,
creating
I don't
bombs.
know, blow up our country, okay, and kill law enforcement and like average citizens. And then, of course, you have Sora Mamdani, who stands up in the wake of this. Okay, play it.
I have
know
that.
You have it.
Let's
Yes,
play
go
it.
ahead.
Welcome to Rivera and Reeves, a podcast where we break through the bias, report the news, and occasionally trip over our soapboxes while ranting about the headlines.
Every week, we tackle the biggest stories with sharp analysis, unfiltered honesty, and just enough sarcasm to keep it fun.
So pull up a chair, grab your coffee, and join us as we wade through the spin, because the media's trash and we have zero patience for their nonsense.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Rivera and Reeves. I'm Mercedes. I'm here with my friend Rachel. Say hello, Rachel.
Hello, Rachel.
I'm back in my office. It's
Congratulations.
Don't look too closely because there's still things that need to be completed. But I told my husband, I was like, I have to be back. I'm losing my mind now.
Yes. And
Like,
when you're losing your mind,
it's all going to fall apart.
I know, it really is. So I'm
It's
happy
all
for
gonna
you.
fall apart.
That's
Yes.
excellent.
So for those of you who are subscribed to my It's Mercedes Substack, apologies that I have literally abandoned it for a week because I don't look, you want to hear a tidbit about me?
Sure.
I used to play video games like Xbox or PlayStation.
You were a gamer?
Okay, look, I wasn't a gamer. I had games that I enjoyed playing, right? But the problem is that I am one of these individuals that if I start a project, any project, a puzzle, a game, a DIY, anything that is outside of my normal routine, it will consume me. And I cannot stop doing it until it is finished. So I no longer play any of these games.
Yeah.
Because
I can see how you would have to pick the things you're going to focus on. Definitely.
I get fixated. I just cannot move on. I'm like, okay, just a little bit more. I have to finish this. Now it's great when it's researching or it's work related or something like that. Like I have to charge through, but it's not when it's not productive. It is not a good thing. So,
but it's good when you're redoing your office. So it looks great.
Yes. Well,
Can I share a little tidbit?
Changing. Absolutely. Do tell.
Do you guys know that Diet Coke now has cherry Diet Cola that is widely available at Walmart? My daughter found it, the assistant to the regional manager. She ran in and was like, Mom, we need to do a Walmart delivery. And I said, why? We have plenty of groceries. I'm not spending more money. And she said, Diet cherry Coke is on sale. And so we made an order immediately, and I didn't know if I was going to like it or not because I don't like sweet things. I don't have a sweet tooth at all, but it is delightful and refreshing. And I never drink soda out of the can. I don't like doing that. I always pour it into a frosted like beverage cup with lots of ice.
I am straight out of the can.
Never
straight out of the can.
But this little magical elixir I put into the freezer for 15 minutes, buried under ice, crack it open. It is, I don't know. I love it so much. I think it might replace my Diet Dr. Pepper obsession. So anyways, go forth and get you some of it.
I'm the only thing I drink is I don't do any other soda flavor except for Diet Coke. That's it.
I
don't like cherry. I don't like it. I can taste the weird.
Kay didn't like it either.
Not real cherry flavor. Like I can taste it.
I mean, and I'm totally fine with artificial everything. Eyelashes, nails, soda, refreshment, aspartame, all of it. Kay didn't like it, which made me even more excited because it's all mine now. I even asked her the other day, I said, do you want to try it? And she said, no, it's gross to me. And I said, perfect. My day has been made.
All mine. All right, friends. Well, if this is your first time here, welcome. You have found your new favorite podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening. We're on all major podcast apps, on YouTube the next day. And if you want to see us as soon as I hit publish and listen to us ad-free with bonus episodes once a month, please consider becoming a paying subscriber. The link is in the show notes. Also, if you are an existing Rivera and Reeves subscriber, DM me, email Rachel. I almost forgot your name for a second. And
it's okay.
And we will share a specific exclusive discount link to our individual Substacks if you are a paying subscriber of Rivera and Reeves. So I mention that all the time. We get like 1 or 2 a week. Please welcome anytime. Also, if you have been a longtime listener and you think, man, Mercedes and Rachel are just the bomb, like the best, amazing. Everybody should be listening to Mercedes and Rachel. First of all, we concur. Second of all, share it with a friend. Tell a friend. Actually, we had a friend that even said, "Oh, I even shared your podcast with one of my liberal friends at work, and they actually enjoy it." So if you're listening,
hi, liberal friend, hi,
welcome. We love all. Okay, so so share it with a friend. Link is in the show notes. What are we talking about today? Okay, we got a few topics today. Of course, we're gonna talk a little bit of the war, conflict, operation, depends who you talk to, in Iran. And we're also going to talk about some interesting happenings in New York City and how the media just loves they won't say, I feel like there's like a secret word that they don't want to say, and it starts with a T.
Does it end with errorist?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Guessed it. Points for me.
Okay. So, yesterday, the president first of all, I want to mention, because we talked about this in the back channels, that today is the 6-month anniversary. I hate to say anniversary because it sounds celebratory. It's like, I don't know how to benchmark. I don't know.
It's been 6 months since Charlie Kirk was murdered, assassinated.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to put it out there and think about how much has happened over the last 6 months, and how Charlie, the assassination of Charlie has left a pretty significant void, especially in the conservative right-wing circles. He was kind of a peacekeeper, a coalition builder. And right now you just got which we're probably going to talk about one of them. I don't know if division is necessarily the case, because I feel like there's some very loud voices that are creating an image of division. But when you go down to the base level of normie Republicans and even MAGA Republicans, I don't feel like they're necessarily falling in line with Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or Megyn Kelly or, Dave Smith or any of these just relatively almost contrarian to be contrarian talking heads, and very, they have designated themselves as the voice of MAGA or the voice of, the Republican Party. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I'm still kind of feeling it out, but my sense is that that's not true. And I really get annoyed when they keep taking Charlie Kirk as well, Charlie would say, or Charlie believed, and they speak for him when he's no longer here to speak for himself.
Yes.
I don't know. How have you been feeling about that?
Well, I think a couple of things came to mind when I was thinking about it this morning. I think that Charlie Kirk definitely was a peacekeeper. He straddled a lot of area in the Republican Party, in the conservative movement. He had tentacles kind of everywhere, and he was able to maintain relationships with people that he fundamentally disagreed with on certain things, on certain topics within the conservative party. And what I think his attitude towards people he disagreed with, I mean, I'm not talking like a Nick Fuentes that he disagreed with, because he wanted nothing to do with him, but people he disagreed with on, say, certain aspects of foreign policy, he was still able to maintain relationships. And what I'm watching are grown adults. I mean, of course, Charlie was a grown adult, but I'm talking people who eclipse him by 25 years, acting like children with their disagreements towards other people, and just taking it even a step further with really hateful rhetoric. And so you can see the disparity between the two. And I think you're right. I'm not sure. I really do think that the midterms is going to be a litmus test for the fracture that people are saying exists within the coalition. I think we'll see there. I think we'll definitely get another sign of that come 2028, when we're really ramping up for the election. I'm not sure. What I kind of reckoned what it reminded me of is so many times in families when, say, the grandmother dies, and then all of a sudden tensions within a family start bubbling up to the top.
Because the
And
matriarch is gone. The
yes, or a
peacekeeper's gone.
patriarch, but often I
Yeah.
see it, the grandmother, because all bets are off and everybody's like, I'm not accountable to anything or anybody anymore. And I saw a little bit of that with Charlie, not necessarily because he was holding all of these people in line, because they're all adults and they'll act the way they want. But I think his assassination left people unmoored. And just like COVID did, people started kind of fleeing and going all in these different directions because they didn't know what to trust. I think something similar happened when Charlie died. And people are trying to find their grounding, their footing again. And it's definitely been really dark. That moment of unity disappeared really, really quickly. And then you have some fringe people who, I don't even know if they're fringe. To me, Candace isn't fringe. She has such a humongous following. Someone like her is taking it to a totally different level, but I'm not sure how much that is going to impact the nuts and bolts of voting and the election. I think that remains to
Yeah,
be
I
seen.
don't
I
I
don't
think
know.
a lot of her, I mean, specifically, a lot of her audience and her
Mhm.
numbers have flooded over to her recently.
Yeah.
The amount of people that I see or I saw early on, like
Mhm.
on TikTok, for example, was like, oh, I never thought I would agree with Candace Owens because they were leftists. They were like anti, and now all of a sudden they're on board with her. So I think she has a lot, like,
Yeah.
obviously, I think it bridges both sides, but she has a lot of that too. Like, it's not the same audience that she had during
When she
2016
was
or
with, oh,
20.
yeah, or was
Yeah,
working for the Daily
like,
Mirror. It's different.
not even close. So
Yeah.
she's, like, brought over another group of people, and
Mhm.
so I don't think that's necessarily reflective of just like, I agree with you, like, the midterms, I think, is gonna be a little bit more of a determination of that coalition, and
Yeah.
also Republicans, and also America First, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
there's all these little microcosms, and I think we can become very overwhelmed,
Mhm.
or not overwhelmed, kind of disheartened with the loudest voices in the room.
Yeah.
But when you
Yes.
look at the numbers underneath, especially if you start looking at polling and not everybody lives their life online or on X, the numbers change a little bit. And so,
Mhm.
even though you have like people touting, the most, especially the legacy media just loves to talk about the divide, the
Mhm.
fracture within the Republican Party and MAGA and everything like that. And I'm like, because they want it to be the case.
Well,
And
yeah, and it
I'm not
benefits
saying that
them
it's
to.
impossible. I'm just saying, like, my sense is that it's not to the level that they're
Yeah.
expecting. I would acknowledge, though, that there's probably a group of people that are um indifferent, but
Mhm.
almost not indifferent because they've shelved it. Like, they've shelved
Mhm.
politics, they're worn out, there's exhaustion, there's fatigue. And I
Yeah.
think it's more about that. And they're only popping their heads up for the biggest stories,
Mhm.
like the war in
Yeah.
Iran,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how people feel about that. Now, current polling has Republicans still very much on board with the president
Mhm.
by like 80, almost 90% in some polls.
But you would
Now,
definitely
obviously,
not know that if you're only looking at the legacy media. And like we talk about, they're going to
exactly.
report on what benefits them. Just like it was very beneficial for the legacy media and progressives to run on the Hitler 2.0 not authoritarian regime talking points. It benefited them, and sending out the perception that there's a complete divide in the Republican coalition definitely benefits them as well. It instills fear. People who are low information voters are seeing that, and they get worried what's going on with the Republican Party. But I'm not sure that's the case with normies and people on the ground who are just looking at kitchen table issues. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
they're necessarily
Well, and
spending their
that's
time.
where the whole Iran situation really comes into play, and
Mhm.
it determines kind of, where a lot of people are like, oh, well, he's started this war in Iran, that's it, there's the midterms. Well, it all depends on how long this lasts. Now, he
Mhm.
did a press conference yesterday, and
Mhm.
we've talked about how, like, the messaging in regards to the Iran war conflict operation
Yeah.
is a little bit of eggs like putting all your eggs in one basket. Like you've
Yeah.
got all of these messages and you're, I don't know, like drawing which one are we going to talk
Right.
about today is
Yes.
kind of how it's feeling. And it's not to say the problem is with messaging and with politics, you have to have a cohesive message that everybody's saying repeatedly where everyone's catching it
Yep.
in the moments that they're consuming media. But if you have, even if you might have 4 or 5 points, which is what the administration appears to have, but you have Hegseth, Rubio, the president, talking heads, all only
Yeah.
saying 1 or 2 of them, it looks very disjointed, even though overall they've kind of kept the same 4 to 5 talking points.
Yeah.
So what was interesting, though, was yesterday during his press conference, which the president referred to as an excursion, like the war is just kind of like it's a little excursion. We're all on this cruise, you guys. We're all on a cruise. It's
Not sure
Carnival
that's
Cruise
how I
Lines
classify
right now.
it, but okay.
And we're on an excursion. I'm like, dude, I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. But he did say that this is going to be over very soon, but also that we haven't won enough. So he's like, this is very soon, but we haven't won enough. He wants internal regime change, like he's for it, but he also wants the Iranian people to choose it for themselves. He's like, the Venezuela model would be ideal, but also they just elected the Khamenei's grandson or son? No, son of, yeah. So he was just elected, and I'm air quoting for those of you guys who are, because I'm not sure exactly how much of an election coronation
Exactly.
it was. But even though he's a cleric, my understanding is that he isn't like a traditional cleric and that he actually had more direct ties to the IRGC than he does to than being a cleric, which is a very interesting change because reminder that when Iran first fell, or not fell, like the regime took over in 79, the big thing was not to have monarchy, not to do anything by secession, by hereditary secession, but for it to be like, so the fact that it went from father to son, who also has IRCG ties.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a historical type of switch that they're doing. They're trying out something new. And
and my
sounds
question
like there's
is
a lot of consternation amongst the Iranians who might have even been open to not a regime change necessarily, but kind of sticking with the status
like
quo.
moderation.
Yeah, and they're even like,
this is not the dude.
No. Yeah. So that's telling.
And there's not even, I don't think they know exactly as far, I mean, who knows? Israel might know, or the CIA or Mossad might know, but
yeah,
I think the reports are, first of all, his father, his wife, and I think a child, if I'm not mistaken, died in those initial strikes.
Yeah.
He was allegedly, I've heard reports that he was injured. He may have a leg amputated.
Okay.
Not 100%. That's another rumor. But then there's also claims that they don't know exactly where he is because he hasn't popped out his head publicly yet.
Yeah.
Because for obvious reasons.
Would you right now? No.
No. I mean, there's memes going around right now about how like anyone who gets chosen as Ayatollah are like, no, not I, because I don't want to die.
Yeah, exactly. Not me.
No, please. But I did want to bring up one thing that I thought was really interesting. So there's been a lot of conversation about a girls' school that was hit the very first day of strikes.
Yeah.
And it was an Iranian all-girls school. Initially, nobody is like, the administration hasn't wanted to assign blame or take blame or anything.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of rumors that it was an Iranian missile that misfired This was the initial, and then like struck the school itself.
Yeah.
Which we saw an example of that during in Gaza at the beginning of the Palestinian or Gaza Israel conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of what we were hearing at first initially, but other reports are making it's appearing that it was a Tomahawk missile that struck the girls' school, killing how many? Do you know the count of how many girls?
Oh gosh, wasn't it 150? I believe.
I feel like it's, but
more.
again, those numbers are
I
from
think that was initial.
Iranian.
I'm not.
Yeah. Iranian officials. Now, I don't know if you've been watching, but to me, every time anyone in the administration is asked this question, their body language to me says that they know, but they're just not saying
They're waiting.
that they know.
Yeah, they're waiting.
Well,
they're biding their time until they have something conclusive and crafted, maybe.
I guess, but the president was asked about this specifically because of Tomahawk missiles. And if it was a Tomahawk missile, I mean, it was the U.S. because the only other people who have Tomahawk missiles,
Israel.
There are some Israel, but also some allies are testing it. But nobody in the region has them, and definitely not Iran. But I'm going to play this clip. I don't know if you saw the president address this question.
No, I did not.
It's going to be interesting. Let me play it for you.
Missile strike and a Tomahawk missile likely destroyed that Iranian girls' school. So will the U.S. accept any responsibility?
Well, I haven't seen it, and I will say that the Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more, but whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic, it's sold to other countries, but that's being investigated right now.
It is my understanding from all the research that I have done that Tomahawk missiles are not generic. It is a specific missile that is produced by the United States that is shot, if I'm not mistaken, off of a carrier, or a battleship. It's not like from the ground or from a plane. Like, it's shot off a ship.
Okay.
And Iran, if they have Tomahawk missiles, how in the world did they get them? Because it's not anything that we provided to them. Like, it's not a generic term.
Either you're right or the
true.
president is right. Either you're right or the president is right. And in this situation, I mean, I hope the president's right. I hope that he has some sort of information we don't have and it's not our missile. But if it is, I would think it would be in the best interest of this administration to get out in front of this story. And it's just been going on too long now. So I don't know what the benefit of waiting this long to say, you know what, it was us. This is horrible. We're so sorry. It was a miscalculation or a mistake. But the farther, we've talked about this with other events that have happened where the lag time between something happening and an official statement is way too long. And it just leaves so much space for narrative crafting, for misinformation, and for people to genuinely go, okay, I can't trust you if you're not going to tell me what's happening.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It undermines the trust. Like, I think the administration right now, if they're doing a different strategy, they have a significant amount of trust, especially from the Republican Party.
Yeah.
But if you're avoiding this and you can't just honestly say, look, the girls' school was literally right next to an IRCG base. It's within the same complex. It wasn't clearly defined. We made a mistake. I don't know, intelligence information. I'm assuming, okay, that's, and if that's the case, then admit that it happened.
Right.
Do an investigation as to how this can't happen again, and also emphasize that we, as the United States of America, does not purposefully strike civilians, especially little girls, as opposed to when you have Hamas hiding behind, schools and residential areas, and you currently have Iran hitting residential areas at the UAE. Like, I don't understand how this is
great.
So. And honestly, to give the president, I don't know, like, is this him just going, not knowing and thinking a Tomahawk missile is just like a general.
Well, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
So that would be one of those things you need to discuss with him out, like, before he gets in front of the podium. Explain, this is what is happening. This is who has or has obtained these missiles. This is where we're going with the story right now. Again, I think it would be in their best interest to just come out and say, we're still investigating this. Of course, it's never our intention to target, because it's my understanding that it wasn't just one bombing. They double backed again. It was two. That there was the missile that hit it, and then one like 30 or 40 minutes later is my understanding.
Oh, wow.
And so
I did not know that.
Well, fact check me, but that's my understanding. And if so, that's even more to have to answer for. So,
Well, and if that's the case, that to me would say something along the lines of that they had poor intelligence, thinking that it was an IRCG
mhm,
and not a school. Because otherwise,
mhm,
like, if it's an accident,
right.
I mean, either it's on purpose, which is horrendous, or it's an accident because they had faulty intelligence
Yes.
and compounded the issue. I
Right.
don't like it. I don't like
it at all.
And I don't think this is beneficial, especially like when I believe the administration and the United States of America in general has the moral upper hand here.
Yes.
And you degrade that when you don't just come out and admit the mistake
Yes.
like you do. And
Yeah.
so in addition to that, so Hegseth was also asked about this morning. He had a completely different approach. He was just like, look, we're still investigating it. And you know, we'll basically get back to you, which is what most people have been doing. But the president, you know, always has to add his little like 2 cents in there, which adds to the confusion of the messaging. Another
Yes.
thing that happened over the weekend, by the way, if you guys saw some pictures of what looked like an apocalyptic scene in Iran with fire, those were real pictures. That was not AI. I thought it was AI initially. That was Israel, who hit 30 Iranian fuel depots on Saturday. Also, reports are that the administration was not pleased about it, especially the president. Axios was reporting that. The president was also asked about that. He kind of alluded to the fact that he was not happy about it. And one of the interesting details, though, or good things, I don't know if this is a good thing, but I thought it was a story worth mentioning, but it's related, is the Iranian women's soccer team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was initially, so the Iranian women were in Australia for the Asian World Cup, or is it the Asian World Cup for soccer?
Yeah.
I don't do soccer. Okay.
know.
So I know.
And I don't really, I gotta be honest, I don't really follow female soccer either.
Oh,
So
you're one
I
of
know.
those. I am too. Don't worry.
One of those. Yeah. Sexist, being a female.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I only have time for maybe one.
I don't have time for sports at all. So I'm not going to like
a week, and I'm watching my husband's soccer team with him. So
one sports a week.
Maybe.
So
maybe
the
not
Iranian
even.
women's soccer team during one of the games did not sing along or salute or whatever during the Iranian anthem.
It's basically like the equivalent of all of our Americans who decide to like stay seated during the national anthem or take a knee
or whatever.
Yeah.
So then after that, there was local Iranian.
Wait, no, I don't think it's the same as that. Excuse me. I'm saying it would be as if they did that because they have an actual reason to not sing their anthem.
Correct.
And the doofuses who do it here and take a knee when they're being paid millions of dollars to represent their country. Okay, no, you don't stand up and sing the national anthem. Okay, anyways, proceed.
So, local media in Iran basically said that this was treasonous.
Exactly.
Which in Iran, treason is potentially a death penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then
another reason why you should stand for the national anthem here in America, because you can do that and we're not going to kill you.
End up dead.
Jeez Louise.
So then in the next game, the women did sing the national anthem and salute it. And there's been a lot of debate and hubbub about what was going to happen. They were being transported. They're sending out like SOS signals from the bus. They had a handler that was realized that 5 of the women had gone missing, and handlers tried to chase them down into the parking lot to retrieve them while they had some aides and some people, some sympathizers that were blocking them. Ultimately, 5 players were welcomed by Australia and given humanitarian visas and asylum. And then recently, right before I got on, it actually went from 5 to 7. So it says 7 members of the Iranian women's soccer team have remained in Australia, while the rest of the squad has now left the country for Iran, a source tells CNN Sports. I don't know what the situation would be for the other women. I also don't know if they attempted to leave, or I honestly have no idea. I would
I wonder if we'll ever even find out, to be quite honest.
So, but unfortunately,
Donald Trump was pretty vocal
back.
about that. He was pretty vocal about it too, and he said basically, Australia, you need to give them asylum, and if you don't, America will.
We will.
I would have been like, can I do America instead? Thank you, Australia, for the offer. Can I go to America instead? Thank you. You guys have big spiders.
Like, do I have a choice here?
You have a choice because
Not
you guys
just
have
spiders,
crawling animals, and like large things that could kill me everywhere. Kangaroos kind of scare me a little bit. Don't do great with the weather. I'll pick America. Thank you.
Fine. I would be like just the politics in general in Australia.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean that. But the first threat to me is that I will be sleeping and a tarantula will crawl into my bed, and I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
So, Meg's been looking at like a bug book about all of the places in the world and the size. It's an actual, like, it shows the actual size of some of these bugs. And I'm talking like there's moths that are like this big in parts of like South America and Africa. And I just think, how are we so lucky to live here when the biggest issue for people is like a tick and they freak out when you have spiders that are this big.
We do have grizzly bears.
Whatever. I don't have to live near them. I mean, there's huge swaths of these other countries that have like amphibians that are the size of me. I'm not interested in that.
When I was a kid, we were stationed in Guam. On Guam for almost a year.
Absolutely not.
There was I remember looking out the window and there was a praying mantis that, I kid you not, was like the size of my forearm.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding. And a giant frog, I left the door open and this giant frog just like hopped into the house. Like it was about the size of a softball. I mean, it was humongous. So
I did some research last year on...
We're getting off topic.
Yeah, it's okay. People like it. I did some research last year on the Vietnam War, and I remember pulling pictures for something I was writing. And there was a picture of a man, a soldier, American soldier, holding up a centipede that he found like in the swamp areas. And the thing was as long as my leg. And I didn't know they existed like that. And this is what it's like in so many places. God bless America. Okay. Grizzly bears all the way. I'll take them. It's fine.
Politics,
grizzly bears. It's fine. I mean, I don't have to go to Florida and see your guys' crocodile alligator situation. I'm fine right here with my ticks and my cicadas. It's fine. It's fine.
Well,
anyway.
Okay. So we talked about how, there's loud voices that are trying to say who they speak for, especially when it comes to this conflict. We have these women that are just trying to play soccer, fearing for their lives because they decided to protest. And then here in the United States of America, we have a man that we have already talked about, but I need to bring up this clip of Tucker Carlson this week, where he said he was talking about unconditional, because the president has asked and called for unconditional surrender. And I might have to do a little bit of an edit on this one afterwards, but I'm gonna share what he had to say specifically on the president's position of unconditional surrender.
Okay, great.
Unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want, and everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that. That's like the most atavistic instinct there is. And so to avoid that, people will do anything. And so that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary. I don't think Americans would voluntarily participate in it. I just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that.
Okay, real quick. I never brought it up before because I didn't necessarily think it was important, but I have noticed because I listen to every single one of Tucker's podcast episodes. I was a huge Tucker fan for a really long time. I think he's one of the best interviewers there is, and he's interesting to listen to. I also like his voice. But you do not. I see. Okay. He uses the example of raping women and wives and daughters a lot when he's talking in apocalyptic terms and when he's talking about wartime and conflicts. He uses that example a lot. I've heard it probably, I want to say like 5 to 8 times when he's talked with people as kind of like the end game scenario. And I don't know why he gets so hung up on that and why that's what he focuses on. I mean, I'm sure that with ultimate conquering, that we've seen it throughout history. Yes, that occurs. Obviously, people are savage. But why I don't understand why that is always what he goes to first when discussing like doomsday scenarios with every. I swear he even said that with the limited strikes that happened a year ago. Remember when they broke into his podcast recording and told him, and he was just so heartbroken, and he said it was World War III.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And I think he went there with that one too. He talks about it a lot. Is that's the one thing that's going to happen with all of these.
But I don't understand why he. I mean, am I insane, or is he? I mean, specifically, this is a U.S. Israel led operation,
right?
The foreign country is Israel and the United States and Iran. So he's suggesting that the U.S. and Israel are going to go into Iran and rape the women and daughters of the people in Iran. Is that what he's suggesting?
Well, and then did you listen to that episode?
I didn't listen to the full. Okay, I listened to like a longer segment
later,
of it.
I think it was this one he released because that was with the interviewer. I forget what his name is. He's had him on before. I think he's from Turning Points or not Turning Point, Breaking Points. Anyways, he released another one with more updates because he's just continuing to update on the war in Iran. And he said something that I listened to this morning where he's basically like, if we're just gonna drop missiles and kill little girls and we're just killing people based on their bloodline and who they're related to, then we have no honor and we need to get happening. And he said we need to get to the bottom of this, which I agree with, and we need to find out. But if we're doing this and it's not a mistake and we have no honor and we should not be fighting for that country. And so now he's drifting into what Candace Owens is doing right now, which is explicitly telling people, Candace has said it outright. If you're in the military, you need to get out. Do not enlist. You will be fighting for people who are, what did she say, defending pedophilic, like Satanists. I mean, she is straight up telling people in the army, you need to get out. Do not serve your country. We don't live in a cohesive country anymore. We're a bunch of terrorists, basically. And I'm watching Tucker kind of move a little bit in that direction where he's tiptoeing around what we're doing is dishonorable. This is not for America. This war is no longer in our interest because he doesn't agree with it. It's no longer in our interest. And you should not be fighting in this war. He's almost there. I'd say if this conflict doesn't wrap in the next week or so, he will soon move fully into I love the U.S. military. I've always loved the U.S. military, but if you're in the U.S. military, you're fighting a dishonorable war, and I wouldn't blame you for getting out.
In any situation, like it doesn't matter what the situation, he would say this. I mean, he has gone to this extreme every single time, almost on every policy choice from the administration since it's entered. And then at the same time, he'll claim that he loves the president, even though the president recently told him or spoke publicly and said that, Tucker doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just, because I find this frame of thinking to be very nihilistic, frankly. It's almost like,
it's so cynical that it's bordering on why the heck do we do anything? Nothing matters. Everything's the worst. And I'm not sure who Tucker thinks his audience is, which is maybe why he's held off a little bit longer than Candace has and going like straight up down no one should serve in the U.S. military. We're not even a functional country anymore. I think maybe he has an idea of how many people he would lose if he started saying just drop out of, dishonorable discharge, just get out, be dissenters, don't serve anymore, because he has a bunch of people and a bunch of sponsors who are very pro-America. We love our country. So I think that might be why he's hesitant, or maybe he just doesn't care anymore. He's just going to say the thing. But I've heard from so many military families who are so sickened by obviously what Candace has said multiple times. She's been telling people not to serve in the military for well over a year or two. But then recently with Megyn Kelly saying that these service members, the 7 service members who have been killed in this war in Iran,
died for Israel.
They did it for Israel. People are so offended by that. I'm hearing from so many military families, military wives who are like, my husband was incensed when he heard that. And I also am so angry. It's disgusting what she said. Maybe that's why Tucker's holding off, but I can definitely see him getting there very quickly in the next couple weeks.
Well, and you see that escalating. And to me, I've brought it up a few times, but this one to me, like, really took me aback. Is like, you have, just think about what we're looking at here. The entire, like, if you were to hover above, look at the whole gameplay. We're, we have the Iran situation. You have these women who, there was a picture of them afterwards when they finally got asylum, and they're like without any coverings on, their hair is out. They're, and it's just because they did not sing the national anthem. And then they're risking death. But does he bring this up at all? No. Instead, he suggests that the United States ultimately, not even as a motive, but because we're so morally corrupt that if we were to have ground troops, what would happen would be, the raping of women and daughters, which to me is nuts. Okay. Then also
I'm not sure where he's going with that. That's a huge implication if that's what he's saying. I wish that there was someone there who's like, can you explain more what you mean?
Well, and also, like, you're going to tell me that you love the military, and then you're going to, like, who does that? Who is the force that comes into Iran and does that?
It's because he was mad I think he's mad at Trump, even though he did come out and he said, I know Trump disowned me or whatever, but I have great affection for him and I always will care about him, blah, blah, blah. But I think he's actually kind of ticked off. And that's why, as soon as, I don't remember if it was Trump, Hegseth, or both, who said, we're looking for unconditional surrender from Iran. That's why he came out and he said, okay, well, let's talk about unconditional surrender. This is what it means. So are you saying that the ultimate goal of the military, if they are being given orders to fight until ultimate surrender, that now they feel the freedom to walk into another country and just what, Tucker? Say it out loud. Are you saying
people?
That? And rape and pillage? Is that what the American, say the words? Is that what American soldiers then? Is that the natural progression in your mind of where we're going to get to with our U.S. military? If that is it, you're very right, Mercedes. That is nihilistic. That is the peak cynicism that comes from this whole deconstructing America movement on the right in some dark corners. And it's disheartening, but
I shall not partake.
No, it is also really concerning that someone can get there so quickly with, it's been within the last year and a half with Tucker. It's really interesting.
Well, and I mean, it's not just to harp on him, but you see that rumor, like that bubbling underneath.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the midterms will be a better determination of how many people have gotten to that extreme.
Yes.
And where we actually stand, because this is not productive. Like, you can acknowledge that the country has its flaws, but you don't just go throw your hands up, give up, and say, I can't do anything about it. They're just horrible. And there's no possibility, no redemption whatsoever. Which
and they're
is very,
just going to march into another country and rape all the women and children.
Like that,
that's a leap. That's
insane.
A leap.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also at the same time, you have him and like others who will not acknowledge that. I mean, we've talked about the Islamification and that is happening in the United States that we've seen happen in Europe and is starting to bleed over, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And we have now had two. We have now had a second attack that has been motivated by Islamist extremism. Okay. And Tucker Carlson and others, by the way, including CNN and many of the media, refuse to name it what it is. They won't name the name. They won't say it. And so when was it that it happened?
Wasn't it Saturday?
I think it was Saturday. There was a and is the Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City, and it was led by Jake Lang. We have discussed Jake Lang a few times. We're not a fan, okay?
Yeah.
Not a fan of Jake Lang. But he has a right to be a dweeb and do whatever he wants, okay?
Yeah, and I really feel like that's just the part of the story. You knew the second I heard about this and I heard he was involved, I'm like, that's what the media is going to run.
That's the only thing they're going to talk about.
The only thing they're going to
talk about.
Yeah, of course.
So that is not the most important part of the story. Let me emphasize, because that's how everybody is starting. So there was also a counter protest that was like, run Nazis out of New York City. That one had like, interestingly, the takeover, Jake Lang had like 20 people. The counter protest had like 125 plus people, or the estimated numbers.
Yeah.
During this time, there is an 18-year-old boy, man, whatever.
He's a man.
Who attempted him. There was two of them, a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old from Pennsylvania that attempted to drop. They ignited and threw a homemade bomb, like a legitimate bomb, not a fake bomb.
Right.
Like,
it's not a snowball, guys. It's an actual.
This wasn't a cherry bomb.
Yeah.
Now, it was a homemade IED, mason jar sized, and it's called, the type of explosive that was used is in like not activist, but Islamic circles, is called the Mother of Satan. So it's a TATP explosive. It had nuts, bolts, screws, shrapnel inside of it, and a hobby fuse. Okay. I got a video here of, actually, yes, I'm going to go ahead and play. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but you'll listen where, for those of you who are listening and not watching, this video is by an activist comedian called Walter Matterson. He's on a bullhorn talking about how he welcomes all people. And literally, as he is saying it, one of the guys throw the bomb over his shoulder into the group of protesters. So I'm going to play it for everybody.
We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
So right there, when the woman screamed, he threw the bomb.
He's like, dang, what did I just do?
Okay, well, here's the deal. This guy, I saw his thread, and because he did a X thread about it, and he's like, oh, I was actually there. And when he did this X thread, he still focused on Jake Lang and said, what was it that he said? He goes, and I still stand by it. As born and raised in New York, everyone is welcome. Everyone except Chief Goat Fiddler Jake Lang. So that was his response. He didn't make any criticism. Like, he literally saw someone try and drop a bomb. He says, I was there when they threw it over my head. Makes no mention whatsoever about the details of the guys, the bomb, nothing. His entire focus is Jake Lang. Okay.
Wow.
There was multiple videos of the teenagers running down the streets where they attempted to light a second one, yelling, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah. And then I have here NYPD outlining some details of this incident.
Qayyumi said in recorded post-arrest statements that he had watched ISIS propaganda on his phone and that his actions that day were partly inspired by ISIS. The complaint also details statements made by Amir Balat after his arrest. En route to the NYPD precinct, Balat made spontaneous statements without being questioned by NYPD officers that were captured on body-worn camera footage. He said, "This isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the Prophet. We take action, as well as, if I didn't do it, someone else will come and do it." And later, after waiving his rights, he requested paper and wrote a message declaring in part, "I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kuffar." Now, die in your rage is a commonly known ISIS slogan, and kuffar is an Arabic term that refers to non-believers.
Great. Could I maybe share CNN's
yes,
initial...
actually,
do you have it?
Let me share it with the class.
Okay. Because it's great. It's great.
It is the most insane thing. I actually, they deleted it.
Oh, I have it because the internet always remembers.
Yes, please
It
share.
said, this reads like a theater kid wrote it, okay? Like a 12th grade aspiring lefty journalist wrote it, okay? 2 Pennsylvania teenagers. I'm not using, you're using it fine, the word teenagers. I refuse to use it because of the way they're trying to brand this. Like they're 2 dumb kids. No, these are men officially under
they're
law.
barely in their teens.
I don't care.
They're
Don't
18
care.
and 19. Barely
care.
in their teens.
2
Okay?
Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day, enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home. Here's what we know so far. It reads like a modern day Nancy Drew book cover. Like that's what this is.
Insane. I read that first. We were living. My husband and I were leaving the gym this morning, and I was like, I must read this tale to you. It is the most insane thing. Well, it turns out that after they got annihilated and completely roasted online.
Yeah, they deleted it.
CNN deleted it and said a post regarding the 2 individuals arrested for throwing homemade bombs outside of New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home failed to reflect the gravity of the incident, thereby breaching the editorial standards we require for all our reporting. It is therefore
too bad.
Been deleted.
Too bad. You don't require it, which is why you ran it. The only reason they're saying it now is because people got mad, but they don't require that. Obviously, if they required it, it would have gone through editing and it would never have made it to print. So
I mean, that was and they're not the only ones. I mean, CNN opened, not CNN. I think it was CBS. CBS reporting on this opened. I don't know if you've seen this clip, but I'm going to play it real quick.
Tonight, the FBI is investigating 2 men.
So first, I'm pausing it. Notice where it says terrorism investigation, and what's the picture?
I can't see. It's not loaded yet. What is it?
So, that's odd. So it is a Trump. You know how they always have like the little picture off to the side?
Yeah,
it's a Trump supporter with their fist in the arm and U.S. flags around them. When it says terrorism investigation, which immediately leads people to think that
alt-right
Trump
white nationalist, psycho who did
exactly.
it. Yes.
Well, this is how they open the story.
Men after an explosive device with bolts and screws was thrown into a crowd. It happened in New York City on Saturday during a protest that turned violent outside the mayor's official residence. CBS's Chanel Call is there with the very latest tonight. Chanel.
So that's how they open the reporting. Now, a few sentences later, they provide more context, like, for example, what a Commissioner Trish shared in the press conference.
Yeah.
But like the image is a Trump protester supporter where it says terrorism investigation. At the setup provides no mention whatsoever that this was ISIS involved or sympathizing.
Yeah, of course
like,
not.
I can't even.
I know.
And it's almost like we forget about history, about, I mean, no tie whatsoever to what just happened in Austin, where how many people were? I think 3 were killed, like 14 injured.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bigger concern too. I think also over the weekend, I saw there was a Nashville flight that had to do an emergency landing in Atlanta.
A bomb threat.
Because of a bomb threat.
Yep. But no details have come out about that gentleman. I'm assuming it's a male, that was threatening.
Yeah, I haven't seen it unless I missed them. And listeners, if you guys heard something, I would love to hear about it in the comments because I haven't heard any updates on it.
If we're going to talk about journalistic malpractice, this is somewhat related, but the New York Times ran with a picture from 2020 saying that it was the celebrations for the new Ayatollah. It's this humongous group of people that are supposedly in Tehran. And they said it was modern day. And then people online were like, Grok, is this modern day? And Grok's like, no, that's from 2020. And they still ran it. They're still running it. As far as I know, it's still up. And this was hours ago. And so this is why Mercedes and I talk about the media being trash. And every time, I just posted this on Instagram, every time we do this, inevitably people drop into our DMs or email and they're like, but they're so progressive and liberal. I don't read them anyways. Just don't pay attention. Nobody reads them. And I'm like,
That's not true.
around the world, people pay for this information and then they take it and they share it. And this becomes reality to people. And so that's why we're always harping on it, because it will trickle down to your personal relationships. I was someone on Twitter, what's her name? Batya, was saying she was having a discussion with someone on Saturday or Sunday night, and they had imbibed what CNN, the likes of Washington Post and New York Times had put out. And this person was like, oh, these were terrorists who did it? Like this was intended to hurt civilians and law enforcement? I thought it was people who were protesting in the anti-Muslim protests that did this. And it's like, yeah,
No,
see why you'd be concerned.
because they're not giving you the full story.
Correct. And not to mention, did you say, and I just missed it, that in the unsealed documents after one of these two men's arrests, they actually said that they intended for this to be larger than the Boston Marathon
Yes.
bomb. They said that
They were asked.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they were asked, like, did you want this to be like the Boston Marathon bombing? And the particular bomb that they created was similar in style and like build. I think they used the Boston Marathon one used a pressure cooker. These individuals used something else, a jar, but it was the same style of bomb.
Yes,
and
this
he
was
said,
their
no,
intention.
I wanted it to be more because that only killed 3 people.
Why is this
Like,
not
that
on the
was their
front
goal.
news? Why is this not the headline? I don't understand how we can continue, how these legacy newspapers of quote unquote, repute that everybody buys. And I mean, even amongst journalists, how is it that other outlets like an AP can look at something that CNN did and not call them out? Like, CNN, what is this? This is garbage, or Reuters, or, even Washington Post or Wall Street Journal calling out New York Times for publishing a picture but it just happens over and over again. It happened in Gaza when I think it was New York Times
it's
was
because
posting.
like they claim being afraid. I mean, their mindset is that we can't create more opportunity or excuses for Islamophobia. And I'm air quoting that because I think it's a ridiculous term. Or, for hatred of the marginalized. Like that is their focus. They're completely unwilling to look. And we see that across the board in multiple issues. We've seen that with the trans issue. We saw that with BLM. Now we're seeing it. The difference here is that we have people that
wanting to, blow up our country, and kill law enforcement and average citizens. And then, of course, you have Zohran Mamdani, who stands up in the wake of this. Okay, play it.
I have that.
Yes,
Let's play it.
Okay.
On Saturday, a protest was held outside Gracie Mansion, where I live with my wife, Rama. Neither of us were home at the time. This was a vile protest rooted in white supremacy entitled Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City. I'm the first Muslim mayor of our city. Anti-Muslim bigotry is nothing new to me, nor is it anything new for the 1 million or so Muslim New Yorkers who know this city as our home.
That's how he opened. That's how he opened. And then when he did eventually get to the two dudes that tried to bomb, he was just like, I don't condone any violence. No, they have a right to free speech, but like the anti-Muslim protest, I don't have to like it. I don't condone any violence. And I'm like, okay, so name the violence. It wasn't until Commissioner Trish came up, and she reiterated some of the points that she made during the press conference, but it did not come out of Mondani's mouth. Okay.
No, of course
not. And that's how he chose to open it, which I think, I don't know, is a little problematic.
It's problematic, and it's also, it kind of is on the heels of it being exposed that his wife was sympathetic and liked several tweets right after October 7th celebrating the massacre, questioning if women were actually raped. It wasn't even that these tweets that she liked were pro-Palestinian in nature. They were anti-Israel, pro-October 7th massacre. And when he was asked to answer for that last week, he's like, well, she's my wife and she deserves to have privacy. She's her own person. And I'm like, No, sorry. You have to answer for stuff like that when you're a public official and you're related to one. Think about all the other wives and husbands of
All
public
the
officials.
time.
Look at Clarence Thomas's wife. She had to answer for the appeal to heaven flag. I remember everybody saying Ginny Thomas is, low key white supremacist and how dare he be married to her and blah blah blah. Well, you know what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and you need to answer. Come get your wife, Zoran, who is saying and sympathizing with terrorism. What?
Yeah,
This should be the front of the New York Times page.
The one that because it was like the New York Times had done a report about how Hamas had used rape to traumatize people,
Subjugate,
like the women. Yeah. Over October 7th. And then there was a post that said that was false, that it was all a hoax. And that's what she liked. She also follows some dude that I can't pronounce their name, but it's or her name. Her name is Basan. I know who she is. She has like curly hair. She's an activist. And she is a very pro-Palestine, obviously, but she is also a PFLP member, which is a Palestinian federal. I can't remember the full acronym, but this is a state, like they're a state designated terrorism organization. Okay, so
yeah,
this is who she's liking. And then when the New York Times reported on this specific story about her liking these posts, the New York Times covered it, and it says the headline was Mamdani defends wife amid criticism of her support for the Palestinian cause. Focuses on like, oh, she's just being attacked because she supports the Palestinian cause. Makes no mention of the posts that she was liking and who they were actually posted by, what they talked about, what they supported. Okay. But then this is a very interesting tidbit. This same reporter, the same week, ran a story about Democrat Representative Dan Goldberg's wife who liked some social media posts that were pro-Israel. And this reporter framed that as insensitive or hateful language directed toward Palestinians. And they were like regular posts that were criticizing Palestinians and Gaza and were pro-Israel. Not anything
crazy
out there like supporting a terrorist organization.
That's
the
crazy.
same reporter.
People aren't going to put these links together, though. It's not within their interests. It's just not.
No, it's insane to me. And then Mamdani, by the way, another tidbit, he did eventually, I think, let me see if I have it. So he was asked about, because during that same press conference, one of the things that Commissioner Tisch mentioned, was that there has been a rise. Oh no, it wasn't her. It was the New York City terrorism counterpart. She talked about how there has been a rise of this type of radicalism amongst young people. Okay. Yeah. So Mamdani is asked about this specifically, and this is his response.
So given that both of the alleged attackers at Gracie said they were inspired by ISIS, and given New York City's sort of perennial status as a soft target, I was wondering if you had any, words of advice to any young people who might find themselves being drawn to that particular ideology.
I think first and foremost, just to make it clear to everyone that extremism and hatred of any kind will not be tolerated in our city. And that is regardless of whatever ideology motivates any person to commit an act of violence. There is no tolerance for it here. What we want to deliver to New Yorkers is a city that is safe, is a city that believes in the values where everyone who calls it home is considered to be a part of it. There is no tolerance for any kind of violence within that vision of our city or the way in which we lead this city.
Thanks.
His middle name is vague, and that's what he's going to be his entire tenure. It is, because you can't say the words. She's asking you specifically about ISIS-backed terrorism. So speak to ISIS-backed terrorism. And then when you get a chance, you can talk about white supremacy the next time a white supremacist decides to throw a grenade, into a pro-Palestinian crowd of people, which hasn't happened yet. So when it does, then talk about the white supremacists. But right now we're talking about two people who yelled Allahu Akbar and threw things at law enforcement and citizens, and then said, I kind of want to blow up the city a little bit, kind of like a Boston the Boston massacre, the Boston Marathon bombing. That's what I want to do. So let's talk about that. But he just can't. He's unable to. He skirts around every issue, and then if he can, he conveniently brings it back to, oh, and by the way, white supremacy, and everybody hates Muslims.
Yeah.
Which,
and I'm just like, no,
stop it. We're not doing this, Soran. Like, we're not doing it.
It is so manipulative and so dishonest. And then what happens is that it provides just enough cover for people to say, but he condemns the violence. He condemns all violence. And I'm like, look,
that's like,
you're not answering for your wife. Okay. That is liking posts. You are immediately coming forward about some loser with 20 people at a protest and calling and like emphasizing the danger or the bigotry of his white supremacy, and make virtually no mention of ISIS sympathizers that wanted to bomb New York City. Okay. New York City, which is a notoriously like soft target.
Yeah.
And you are the mayor of New York. I think this should be a little bit of concern to you. And then right before, like in all of that, he's like posting a picture of him having dinner with Mahmoud Khalid.
Yeah, Khalil.
Because they're I guess
they're
finishing
besties.
up. Yeah, I'm
Ramadan.
like, this guy who headed up an organization that called for the destruction of Western civilization. And I'm supposed to be like, yeah, dude, you're
looking out for the best interests of all New Yorkers, for sure. I think he really did think that because he is the first Muslim mayor that he was going to get, is their tenure 4 years or 6? I forget.
I don't remember.
Mayor. I think he thought he was going to get he was not going to have to discuss it. He'd get by scot-free. He wasn't going to have to talk about that issue. And then whenever he had to, he could just claim Islamophobia. But I mean, it's all at once. There's so much indicting him right now. And honestly, I do kind of want to hear from the people who voted for this guy in a couple months when this stuff just keeps happening. I want to be like, how do you feel about it now? Do you see why all of us were like, maybe this isn't a great idea? I'm curious. And as we're talking about this, the bomb squad is at Gracie Mansion right now. And the area has been shut down and it's been evacuated because there was another suspicious package found in a nearby park. So that's coming in right now.
Nice. So an interesting tidbit before we move on. I'm trying to remember her name. So she reports for the Free Press. I think her name is Olivia.
Oh,
she's been
Reinhold.
Reingold or Reinhold. I can't remember her last name.
She's great.
Yes. So she has been on the Mamdani beat, okay? And she did an entire report for the Free Press specifically on the likes that his wife did on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she did a video I saw it right before we got on, where she was supposed to be on CNN for a panel to debate that specific issue and point out like why this is a problem and that she's not just like for the Palestinian cause, but it's like more extreme than that. Yeah. And they canceled it.
Really?
So,
why?
Yeah. She's like, I don't know why they canceled it. And
I mean, I can think of about 1,000 reasons, probably because her arguments were too strong and they were like,
and I'm also thinking of the context of like, they canceled it right when this situation happened right in front of Gracie Mansion and Zoran Mamdani's like, softballing it, the entire media softballing it. CNN just went through the ringer because they softballed it. Okay. Yeah. On X, you know what I mean? Like,
they're like, let's stay away from this topic for a minute. Let's just give ourselves a breather. We're having a hard time.
Yeah, because she would have destroyed. Okay. Yeah. She just would have. Okay. So one last thing that I want to talk about, because I know you're going to be interested in this.
I will be.
So NBC reports that during a Republican like fundraiser, that the president has been asking and wondering people. He's like, hey, so who do you think should run in 2028?
Yeah.
Marco or JD? And look at your grin. And so the report is that overwhelmingly the people cheered for Rubio. One source said that it was almost unanimous for Rubio.
What can I say? When I'm right, I'm right. When I'm right, I'm
Now,
right.
we are a long, long way away.
Yeah, well,
But
I've been waiting for this since 2016, so I'm here for it, and the party begins now. So,
well, I think it's very interesting because, like, with everything going on, JD's been a little quiet. He, he's been very soft on his support for this Iran Operation War conflict situation. Clearly, Rubio has been upfront.
yeah.
Also, during the entire thing, like when this all went down, Rubio was in Mar-a-Lago, JD was at the White House.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of that. Okay.
I think too, you kind of have to take it with what, like you said, what's happening right now. We're in a wartime situation. Tensions are high. And when that's happening, people gravitate towards someone who feels stabilizing, and Rubio definitely does. I mean,
definitely
people like JD in certain circumstances, but when you're in a moment like this, someone like Rubio who can stand up, and whether you agree with everything he says or not, he is a calming presence. He is really intelligent. He has foreign policy chops. He knows what he's talking about. He gets up, he's doing 25 things. He's handling all of it really well, and he got up at, I forget what speech he was giving the other day. And he fluidly just went from speaking English to, oh, can I speak in Spanish right now to these people?
Yes.
Just, fluent Spanish over here.
It was that was hilarious. That was the Shield of America's announcement where they were playing I love the graphic that was behind him because it kind of looked like something out of like Marvel or whatever, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, but still entertaining. But yeah, he just busted out his Spanish. It was funny too, because I was talking with my husband about that. Cause obviously, I mean, not obviously, some people don't know, but I understand. I'm Puerto Rican. He's Cuban. And also AOC is Puerto Rican too. And one of the things that really stood out to me is that Rubio, first of all, his Spanish is great. And he's very much has a Cuban accent, but he has a Cuban accent that you can tell has an undercurrent of being an American accent.
Okay.
But it's not like me. Like when I speak Spanish, you can very much tell that I'm Puerto Rican. But some of my accentuation is a little because my first language is I speak more English than I do Spanish.
Yeah.
Versus like AOC, when she speaks Spanish, she sounds almost like you when she's trying to speak Spanish.
Correct. I've heard it. And it almost sounds like a Valley girl trying to speak Espanol.
It does not.
Yeah.
Like she does not have a Puerto Rican accent.
No, it definitely feels like she's working. She's having to work at it, where his is very fluid, very natural. And so I think
he's just conversing.
Yeah. He feels, I don't understand how he's doing it because he really does have so much responsibility with this administration, but it feels like he is very calm and at ease with what he's doing. He never feels to me like he's panicking or at a heightened level. And I think that just gives off an air about him that makes people feel comfortable. Now, that could all change if we get to a peacetime where everybody's just feeling groovy and we're not needing kind of a dad figure who we all know is kind of keeping the foreign policy in line right now.
Like chill.
Then JD Vance might emerge as someone, that more people are like, we want someone young and we want to feel revitalized or whatever. But for right now, I think Marco Rubio has proven himself over the last decade. He didn't drop out when things got hard. He has stayed the course and he's been a good politician, a career politician. That seems trustworthy.
Yeah,
He's doing a really good job right now,
curiosity,
in my opinion. So I think that's probably why people are,
I'm just curious as like whether or not he'll be able to, like, I'm just curious, like, I mean, honestly, things can change on a dime.
Of course.
And we have no idea what the electorate will look like in 2028.
Right.
And so, because even though they're friends and they get along and you see similarities in them, they're very different politicians.
Of course.
They have very different positions. And it's very much, kind of like a sign of like where the Republican Party will go after Trump. Depending on who comes out forward. So I'm interested to see it. It's interesting that I think it's interesting for two things. I think it's interesting that reportedly Trump is like feeling people out to see who do you think should run in 2028? Because that is always a sign. Like he's always asking questions. He's always curious. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. Ask Kristi Noem. Okay. Yeah. But then also, I think it's interesting that Rubio has been like, I'm not going to run. I'm, kind of like laying back. But I don't believe you, Ruby. Like, I think it's the
Well, and I
opportunity
think
was there. He'll
too,
do it.
I think you might be giving Trump just a little bit too much credit by asking that question. Like he's actually curious. I think he might have asked that because he just wants people to tell him he made a good pick for Secretary of State. Like he might just be like, how good are my guys? You got Rubio, you got Vance. I picked the winners, you know? I don't know if he's necessarily like checking in. He might be curious, but I think he's just like, you know, pat me on the back a little bit. I made some good choices. So I don't know.
I'd be interested in talking about endorsements. Is he ever going to, like, the whole Texas Paxton Cornyn
I know.
thing?
He was supposed to come out with that already.
Like,
What's he doing?
Still hasn't said anything. I don't know. It's been interesting to say the least. Okay, so before we wrap us up, you wanted to share a this day in history today.
Right. I think we should start
Teach me
doing
something.
that. I do this day in history for the Dawn Dispatch every day and then weekly for my kids' newsletter. And I'm always reminded history's short and it's really cool to remember, you know, what's happened. So on this day, March 10th, 150 years ago, Alexander Graham Bell made his historic first telephone call in 1876. He did. And it was just like a simple copper wire setup. And Alexander Graham Bell spoke. He called Mr. Watson, his assistant. And the first words, do you know what the first words were sent over a telephone? No. Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you. That's it. And that was the first words said over a telephone 150 years ago. And look where we're at now. We have supercomputers in our pocket that can call across the world. So that's a short amount of time in my opinion. 150 years. And so to commemorate this milestone, AT&T today announced that more than $250 billion in investments across the U.S. infrastructure and workforce through 2030. So there you go, 2030.
It is pretty wild when you think about it, like how far. I mean, I talked about this the other day. There's like a current rise of nostalgia for the 90s.
Yeah.
Which I find fascinating, having very much lived through the 90s, like in the heyday, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like technology, especially in our lifetime, you know, the two, like, has
that 30 years has just been
from wild.
0 to yeah. I mean, it is, but I have to say, like, whatever's new is always exciting. Like my girls grew up with all of us. I mean, we did have a landline in our first house and in our second house, but our second house, it was just for novelty. Like the girls liked picking up the landline and calling people, but we don't have one here at this house. We just have cell phones. But we recently bought Polly this new contraption called the tin can. It's a telephone that's a telephone, but it looks like a tin can. It comes in like 90s pop colors. It's really fun. And you hook it into the internet and other tin can users, like if you get your friends to have a tin can, it's free and they can call each other. So she has one little girlfriend from church and we bought her a tin can and we bought Polly a tin can and it just hooks up to Wi-Fi and then they get to call each other on an actual phone and they can leave a little message or talk, and it doesn't cost monthly if you don't want to call anybody else. You just want to call your tin can friends. But they're like laying on their beds. I hear them up there. They're laying on their bed. She's laying on her bed talking with her friend and they're giggling. And then they, you know, okay, bye. I'll talk to you tomorrow night, you know, because they don't text. They don't get to see each other
hang
every
up.
day.
No, you hang up. Remember?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
hang up.
It's adorable. So for her, she thought it was the most amazing piece of technology she's ever seen when she unboxed it and got to look at it. She's like, this is incredible. I'm like, no, this is incredible. The fact that we could do all this, that was incredible, you know, 150 years ago, but just, you know,
That's so
everything
funny.
that's new is exciting. So
yeah, I've heard their parents have actually been organizing and agreeing to, like, within a like little group of friends to put in landlines.
Yes.
So they can like call each other or something, like
to
it's
live
very
our
similar-
childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of bring that back and get them off of their devices, which I'm like, that I think is
I'm all
awesome.
for it. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
great.
for
I have
sure.
very, very, very good memories of sitting in my room on my phone. Sean and I would talk until we'd fall asleep. Or until a parent came in and was like, hang up, you guys have been on too long, you know. We would secret call each other, like past time, you know, whatever. I even had my own phone number in my room. Apart
I don't
from
think
my parents'
I never had my
landline.
own line.
Yeah,
I
they
never
paid
had
an
my own
extra
line.
like $5 a month.
I had that iconic. Do you remember that phone that was like, you
I know
could
which
see
one
the
you're going to talk
insides
about.
of it
Yep, I had it. Oh yeah, that thing was
with
so
all the bright
cool.
colors?
I want to find those. Those are great. I did, and we
that
had a
one and the
Garfield one too.
caboodle makeup. Do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
the caboodle
My
makeup
daughters
thing?
have caboodles now. They brought them back at Target. I was walking through Target and I almost screamed. I'm like, it's a caboodle. And they're like, a what?
You're
I'm
like,
like,
"A
you
what?"
put your makeup in it, but it's really exciting. I don't know. Everything old is new
so
again.
funny.
Everything old is
It
new
is.
again.
It's kind of,
So.
I should have, I mean, if I was a hoarder, I would be making
Uh-huh.
bank right now. Like if I had
Oh,
just
yeah.
held onto my stuff, but I
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
I throw everything away or donate it. I just can't. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up for today's episode of Rivera and Reeves. If this is your first time here, welcome. You have found your new favorite podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening. And if you're a longtime listener, tell a friend. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app and you haven't gone over to YouTube, go to YouTube and subscribe. Okay. Even if you
We
don't
would
really
love
watch
that.
us on YouTube, it'll help our numbers. And so we would really appreciate it. Or leave a review on your favorite podcast app because that also helps the algorithm and helps other people discover us, including telling a friend. If you want to listen to us the moment we hit publish and our beautiful faces and not have to wait until the next day and ad free and bonus episodes and community and please consider
Yes,
clicking the link in the show notes and become a paying subscriber. I'm going to go ahead, call it a day. Today is Tuesday. Okay. I have
Yes.
like lost sense of time because I've
Same.
been like on a marathon to deal with this situation in my office.
Yes.
So come back on Thursday to see if I've finished my office yet. And also for another episode of Rivera and Reeves. In the meantime, as we proved without a doubt in today's episode, the media is trash and we have no tolerance for it. Okay. Bye.
Bye.